Alright, cool. This video I'm gonna call a master manifestor. I'm gonna explain it to you, what a master manifestor is, essentially how they do things, and how to essentially be one, I guess. Yeah, I guess. A master manifestor is basically someone that it's dramatic, to be honest, to call them that, but it's just someone that knows how to manifest, essentially. So they know what they're doing. So it's that simple. So manifesting is shifting internally, but not being emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. And that's not my definition, that's Nero's. But I like the definition, it works very well to explain it to someone. So shifting internally means that you have to essentially internally self-validate yourself rather than let the world try to validate you or tell you where you fit in. You essentially are your own validation. So even like when people see like dumb people that are mad rich or mad successful, it's because of they internally are doing this without realizing, because they're operating from them just saying, fuck it, let me do it anyway, and doing what they essentially wanted to do and just following through with it. They have become successful or rich without them even realizing, just from doing something that they love. But the problem with, it's not even a problem necessarily, but with smart people, some of them, because they're like critical thinkers, they like to have everything perfect before doing it, whereas the person who's unexperienced just does it and learns as they go along. Both ways you can do, but the thing with the smart person is sometimes they can overthink, procrastinate, and then not actually begin anything. Whereas with the what you would call dumb person, the dumb person has just essentially not let no one limit his beliefs. He just has an idea or a belief that he could be good at something, or an idea to try something, and has just essentially followed through and just seen where it takes him. It's just that simple. And even that concept is somewhat a master manifestor, because regardless of what people are telling this dumb person, or what you would call a dumb person, regardless of what people are telling him, if it will work, if it won't work, how to do it, how not to do it, because he's just trying and doing it and getting along with it, regardless of what he's told, he will also learn on the way anyway. So even that, he's somewhat manifesting, because he's still following through his idea, he's still self-validating himself, he still internally knows somewhat that this can go somewhere, hence why he's doing it. And because of that, because of essentially the amount of time that person's then put in, they then get their results regardless, because over time, regardless of if he was the dumb person on the first day, over time he will naturally start to pick up what he's doing, and then he'll get better, and then he'll learn from his mistakes, and essentially without realizing that it's still a master manifesting, because he's still manifesting a new reality through following through something that he saw he could be successful in before anyone else told him, or before anyone else told him he can't. He internally knew he could, or just assumed that he could, and just followed through with it. So that's all a master manifestor is. It is essentially the person internally shifting, but once they have internally shifted and they declare, I am their manifested version of themselves, and operate from an internal aspect, and validate themselves internally, tell themselves that they're certain internally and they're happy internally, and they congratulate themselves internally. Once they start shifting to the internal aspect and self-validate themselves internally, they will then see that regardless of what comes in reality, which is the illusion realm, but whatever comes through in reality, they won't be swayed by it, because they internally operate and internally validate themselves. So regardless of what goes on externally, as long as they keep their focus on things that they're doing, or the things they're operating on from that version of themselves they visualize and internally operate from, that's already successful and already accomplished. Because they operate from that version of themselves internally and therefore know they are that version of themselves, naturally everything, like their actions and their reality begins to change, because internally how they view themselves has changed. So reality then has to catch up to them and shift for them. But master manifestors, or someone that knows how to manifest properly, knows that this takes place as soon as you declare you're that version of yourself. So once you declare you're a new version of yourself, you visualize and meditate over it, emotionally intensely feel it, you essentially now are that version of yourself. You just then have to consciously operate from that version of yourself. And once you then consciously operate from that version of yourself, the new cause, which is you operating from a new frequency, creates a new effect or a new way of you doing your actions. Because faith without works is dead, so you have to still be doing, but you have to do it from a different version of you first. And because you're doing it from a different version of you, it will then create new results, which creates new effects. But it first internally starts with the shift, which is the cause, the new version of you, the new frequency, the new essentially tuning, if you want to look at it like radio stations aspects, the new tuning. So a manifestor, or someone that knows how to manifest, essentially knows that once they then do this, they are operating from that version of themselves. So rather than someone who's new to manifesting, who keep trying to reassure themselves by saying it over and over, they don't realize that's actually signifying lack or nervousness, because you keep reassuring yourself. Whereas if you knew something was true, like if you knew you know how to cook, or if you knew you know how to cut hair, and someone then said to you, you can't cut hair, or can you cut hair, you're not going to reassure them and be like, yeah, I definitely can. You're just going to say, yeah, I can. Here's my proof, or yeah, I can, that's it. But you don't say it like it's a no-brainer, there's no question to it. That's how manifesting essentially should be, or is, for the master manifestor. They essentially know, once they say, I am that version of myself, to them it's a no-brainer. They're already that version of themselves. So then they operate consciously from that version of themselves, but with certainty. That's the difference. They have certainty. Once they know that they're certain of it, they're not in lack, they're not in need, they don't reassure themselves. They just know from that version, or from that moment onwards, they're that version of themselves. Whereas the person who's new to manifesting, or is unaware that they're manifesting, will feel the need to reassure themselves, will think they need to keep saying it 100 times, will think that they need external signs from reality, which again, you can't be emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. So even that's the wrong concept. You can't shift to an external aspect and expect things to change. You have to shift internally first. Shifting internally changes everything that goes on externally. External is a reflection of your internal. So how you feel internally reflects how everything looks externally to you. And then how you emotionally intensely experience it, or how you emotionally intensely experience it, then shows up in your inner world consistently, because that's what the subconscious essentially labels and remembers. So someone who has negative intense experiences, they can just meditate and visualize it now from a emotionally intense positive aspect, and now, because the brain can't separate the truth from a lie, they can change the memory from what was once negative to positive, and then emotionally intensely experience it that way. And now it's no longer a negative memory, and that negative memory essentially no longer exists to that person, or to the new version of themselves, that subconscious, because now it's been flipped into an intense positive experience, not an intense negative experience. So therefore it's no longer taking place, because the brain cannot separate the truth from a lie. So as within, as without as well. The master manifestor, once they are shifted, they also know that they're good with it or without it. So again, they're not bothered by it. Like I was saying, most of the richest people don't talk about money because, again, they're not bothered by it. They have it. They don't care if they don't have it. They know they can make it back. So money is never a problem to them. Not because it's not a problem financially, but because they never think about it. So it's just never been a problem to them. And it's that internally. With a master manifestor, they've shifted to that, but with their needs. So everything they have, they know they have in abundance, but they haven't needed it. So like the rich man with money, they don't need the money. They know they can get it anyway, or they know they can get it back anyway. So because of that detachment with the certainty, along with the certainty, the master manifestor essentially manifests way quicker than someone who's just starting to manifest or just trying to manifest, because they just make a few simple mistakes that they learn as they go along or as they keep practicing and start to know how to shift their focus and concentration and attention to things that keep them on their desired reality and things that sway them off. That's the only difference between a master manifestor and one that isn't. It's just little critiques like that. That the master manifestor or the manifestor that manifests things quicker knows than the average manifestor or the average person trying to manifest. It's just simple changes like that. So yeah, that is a master manifestor.